what's next for Lamont Roach Jr. as in the last 36 hours, it's been absolutely insane with the former 130-pound super featherweight, WBA super featherweight champion of the world, Lamont Roach Jr., who's coming off back-to-back draws before, moving up to 135 pounds to take on Gervonta Tank Davis for the WBA lightweight strap. Had a draw. A lot of people thought he should have won in the 9th round if they would have considered Gervonta Tank Davis touching the canvas as a knockdown. Technically, if they scored it like that, he should have won that fight. It wasn't. Went up to 140 pounds to take on Mexican phenom Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Had a draw with him. And continues to keep his name relevant. Tweeting recently with Shakur Stevenson, giving him his props, saying salute champ. But I believe at 135 pounds, the lightweight division, this is the biggest fight that you can make right now. And honestly, he might be right. When you look at the champions in this 135-pound division, you got Abdullah Mason, who's the WBO champion. You got Raymond Morataya, who just defeated Andy Cruz, who's the IBF champion. And, of course, there is no WBA champion, which we're going to get into right now. But there really isn't big name value in this division. I wouldn't say, Lamont Roach Jr. is huge name value, but he might just have the biggest name in this 135-pound division. Even if there's, 130 pounds, if any 130-pound fighters want to move up to 135, I would say the same exact thing. I think Oshaquie Foster would probably be the biggest fight for Shakur Stevenson if that were to happen. But Lamont Roach Jr. makes his point. Shakur Stevenson replies back to him and says, we can make this fight happen. All respect to you, and may the best fighter win. Now, I don't think this fight's going to happen next. But if Shakur Stevenson wants that fight, I guarantee you, Lamont Roach Jr. will take that. But in the last 36 hours, not only has he tweeted at Shakur Stevenson, but just was getting off a heated tweet exchange with Oshaquie Foster, the WBC 130-pound super featherweight champion of the world, who just beat Stephen Fulton for the WBC interim 135-pound bout. Didn't want to keep it, said I'm staying down at 130 pounds in the first place. That should have never been for the WBC interim goddamn bout. Dumb how they did that, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Now, they were going back and forth, pulling out the gangster flag, saying, you ain't a gangster, you ain't this. And Lamont Roach Jr. said, if I don't get to fight for the WBA title, 135 pounds, as Gervonta Tank Davis enters champion in recess, Floyd Schofield, who has already been contacted, he said this, he's already been contacted by the WBA, saying that he will be involved in a world title fight against somebody very soon. Now, we all know it's either going to be against Lucas Body or the number 3 ranked fighter or the number 4 ranked fighter in the WBA rankings, which is Lamont Roach Jr. So he tells Oshaquie Foster, if I can't get that fight, if I'm not the one that ends up competing for the WBA lightweight strap, then I'm down to fight you. I'm down to fight you at 130 pounds for your WBC super featherweight title. That's what he said. So, like I said, in the last 36 hours, Lamont Roach Jr. his name has been kind of popping up again big time. Going back and forth with the champion and Oshaquie Foster at the 130 pounds and then getting pretty good replies from Shakur Stevenson at 135 pounds. Now, we know Shakur Stevenson is 2-division world champion. He's a 4-division world champion, but he's reigning 2-division world champion as we speak. Not only the WBC lightweight world champion, but also the WBO Ring Magazine 140-pound champion at the junior welterweight division. So, at some point, Shakur Stevenson's going to need to come back down and fight at 135 pounds now. I don't know if the WBC can even, maybe it's a voluntary fight. Maybe they'll allow it, but I know they got their own rankings, and I know they're going to have their own mandatory fighter and everything with that, William Cepeda. We can't have that fight happen. So we're going to see what happens with Shakur Stevenson and whoever they decide to mandate next for those bouts. But in the meantime, Lamont Roach Jr. has got a lot of options here. If he doesn't get to compete for the WBA lightweight strap, which I think would be an exciting fight. Floyd Schofield versus him. I don't think Floyd Schofield and his father want that, though. They've been public about this, trying to get the Lucas Body fight. Not only been public about it, but did an interview, you know, both of them live with Lucas Body, talking about the fight and why Lucas Body deserves it more than somebody like Lamont Roach Jr. So it's starting to get interesting, bro. But it's breaking news, man. Lamont Roach Jr. continuing to keep his name relevant all over the sport of boxing. And will he get a big-time fight? You know, Isaac Pitbull Cruz, Gervonta Tank Davis, these guys don't want to give him his rematch. They don't want to give him his fair share. You could argue he almost beat both of these guys. So it's all gonna, you know, it's all gonna matter what happens next, man. But at the end of the day, we just gotta wait and see. Let me know what you guys think. This is the MMA Boxing Addict channel reporting to you, and I'm